Hi, my name is Sarah Taylor, and today we're going to be talking about the best screencasting applications for education. Before we go into those applications, let's talk about some of the benefits of screencasting. Screencasting is great because it can be used by both students and teachers alike, and it's available on nearly every device. It helps with content retention because students both see and hear the information that's being shared. It also is great because it builds community within a classrooms. Because students can hear each other talk, they can understand tone and emotion that goes along with speech. It's great for students who struggle with learning because they can re-watch videos and they can pause the videos, the screencast videos, and take the information in at their own pace. And if they need to go over it and review it again, it's right there for them anytime they need it. When students use screencasting, they can demonstrate their understanding and mastery of skills and concepts in a really creative way. And screencasting works with a lot of different learning methods, such as constructivism, flipped classroom, STEM, communities of inquiry, distance education, and project-based learning, and I'm sure there are some more. When I start using a new educational tool, I like to think about the SAMR framework for technology integration. This framework has 4 levels: substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. And you can use screencasting at all 4 of these levels depending on your comfortability with using technology. We're going to revisit this slide at the end of our presentation so you can see some of the different ways you can use screencasting at each of these levels. So now let's get into our applications. The first one is video conferencing. I'm sure over the past year you've used Google Meet or Zoom or Microsoft Teams to connect with a person online while we were in quarantine. But did you realize you could also use it to screencast? If you've never screencast before, you should probably start by using a video conferencing platform. I'm going to talk a lot about Google Meet because that's the one that I've used the most over the past year. So video conferencing is a great way to start screencasting because you're probably familiar with it. There are not really a lot of editing features that would confuse you or potentially mess you up, and it's really easy to share your work. You probably are already used to sharing screencast video conference videos, and it's exactly the same for sharing a screencast. To start, you're going to start a video conference with only yourself in it. You are going to share your screen that you want everyone to see, and you're going to record your presentation. That's it. That's how you screencast with a video conferencing tool. Let's look at what it would look like using Google Meet. The first thing you do is start a Google Meet, and then you are going to look for the Present Now button, and you are going to look for the Record button. Those 2 things are what you need to get started to present your screen that you want to share and give your screencast information. Here's what it looked like with me. This is a lesson that I taught that I made on the back porch during quarantine last spring, where I'm teaching about the triumphal entry of Jesus to my students. I'm giving them a screencast video lecture. This is my Google slide, and this is me talking. And so my students could hear my voice, they could see my expressions, they could see the content on my Google slide, and I just pressed record. And when I was done, the video recording ends up in my Google Drive in my Meet recordings folder, and I could just share that with my students, and bam, I made a screencast. Very easy. All right, so maybe you're like, that's too easy for me. I want something a little bit fancier. There are screencasting apps for when you want to get a little bit more fancy. Maybe you want to spend a little bit of money. There are some screencasting apps for you. We're going to talk about 2 specifically today. One is called Screencastify, and the other one is called Screencast-O-Matic. And they're very, very similar, and that's why I kind of put them together. Of course, you're going to use this to show anything on your screen, any web page, any image, any PDF, anything on your screen, you can record for Screencastify. You could even show models and simulations this way. One of the ways that I use it is when I'm asked to troubleshoot a technology issue. Like maybe a student reaches out to me and says, Mrs. Taylor, I can't figure out how to upload my assignment, or this isn't working right for me. Instead of typing out a long list of directions, a lot of times I'll just open my Screencast app, hit record, and show them how to do it, because showing a lot of times is easier than telling. And so within a couple minutes, I have my video and my link, and I send it to them, and they're well on their way. The great thing about these apps is they make uploading and sharing easy. Most of the time you send it directly to YouTube or to their hosting platform. There's options for privacy built right in, and they give you a link to share your video with whoever needs to see it. These both have annotation tools built in, pointers, text tools, drawing tools, and they're built right in so you can annotate while you show and while you talk. Screencastify has more of those than Screencast-O-Matic. They have simple editing tools. So say you make a mistake in the middle of your video, instead of having to stop and completely start over, you can just edit out the mistake, cut it, and splice it together. Sometimes it helps to add some text features as well, little headlines to draw people's attention to important information. Both Screencastify and Screencast-O-Matic have free and paid versions. I actually used the free versions of both of these for a very long time without running into any limits. One of the biggest limits is time. Another limit that you will bump into with a free account is how much you can upload to their servers. But if you're uploading to Google Drive or uploading to YouTube, you're not going to run into those limits as much. Over quarantine, I decided to get a paid version of Screencast-O-Matic. It was $20 a year, and it opened up a lot more tools for me, especially with editing and sharing. Screencastify only works on laptops and Chromebooks, but Screencast-O-Matic works on laptops, Chromebooks, and they have mobile apps for Android and Apple. Let's look at some screenshots. Here's a screenshot of the Screencastify setup. So you have options for microphone, webcam, how much to count down, drawing tools. And this is a GIF of the drawing tools. The toolbar goes in and out, and it shows you that while you talk, you can have your mouse, a pen, a rectangle, stickers, and erasers to use at your disposal during your screencast. This is the screenshot for Screencast-O-Matic. You see the setup information, and then you press record, it counts down, and you're ready to go. After you're done, there are some options to edit the content by cutting things out, splicing things together, adding titles and texts. There's quick share options where you can upload your video to a preset location, usually their servers, but you can change it around, and it gives you a link to share right away. That's the best thing about it, is it's very quick. And there are options to share to a cloud drive or YouTube, or you can even download it to your desktop. Now let's talk about our last option, explain everything. Have you ever seen an animated explainer video, or have you ever wondered how on Khan Academy they look like they're writing on a chalkboard while they're explaining these math concepts? Explain Everything is an app that you could use to do this. You can share your thoughts while you doodle. Explain Everything is an interactive whiteboard. It looks like a marker board. You can just draw and color, but you can also pull in images and PowerPoints, PDFs, web pages, or videos and annotate them as well. You can click the record button to record your screen and your voice simultaneously. One of the great things about Explain Everything is multiple users can annotate the same project simultaneously, and all you have to do is share a code. And so when you're done, your project can be exported several different ways, like a video, a document, or an image. There's obviously lots of ways that we can use Explain Everything. One way that I liked it, there was a teacher who used it as their feedback. So when a student had a digital artifact or they made a video, he would pull it into Explain Everything. He would have the rubric right next to it. He would go through the project, mark the rubric as he went, annotate, and just said, hey, this part shows this part of the rubric, and it gave very robust feedback to the students. The pricing on Explain Everything is interesting. With the free version, you're going to run into your limits very quickly. You can only have one slide per project, and you can only have 3 projects total, and you can only have a 1-minute video export, right? So you're going to bump into those limits quickly, but the plans start at $6.99. It works on a lot of different devices, but in my opinion, it works the best on an iPad. So let's look at Explain Everything. This is explaining the different layers of the Earth just by doodling while you're talking. So that's a very interesting way for students. It would capture their attention. This is a video that explains the collaborative features. They're giving the code, they're creating the code, they're sharing it through email. There's a lot of different ways you can share it. But once the students are in, the students are moving around the math concepts. They're moving around the circles and squares to demonstrate their understanding of concepts, which is a fantastic way to use Explain Everything. And here is an example of using photos and other media in your projects, and you can record your screen and narration. So that's a lot of information. Let's go back to that SAMR framework. Of course, we can use screencasting for substitution as a replacement to direct instruction. I actually use screencasting a lot when I have a substitute teacher because then the students hear my voice teaching them, and the guest teacher, it makes it a really easy day for the guest teacher because they just have to show the video or tell the students where to watch the video, and they stay right on track. Of course, you can use screencasting with augmentation. It makes presentations better, more robust, because there are things for the students to see and hear together in the screencast. The students can also pause and go back and review. When you get to the modification and redefinition levels, that's when students really get involved. If you're going to use screencasting to modify your instruction, you're having students demonstrate their concept, their understanding of a concept, or reflect on their learning, or maybe you provide enhanced feedback to student work. And of course, when we were talking about Explain Everything with the students collaborating and moving around the elements of the screencast, that's a redefinition of learning by using technology. I hope that this explanation of screencasting software was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please give me an email and I'm happy to help you with that. Have a nice day.